Thanks for joining the Home Matters Podcast with Eric and Gina Boggs, where they lead authentic, raw discussions about marriage, family life, kids, intimacy, and sex from a biblical perspective. Now here's your host, Eric and Gina Boggs.
Well, welcome to Home Matters.
That's right. Happy Home Matters Podcast Day. Yes.
Podcast number 57.
57.
We're glad you're here. Good morning.
Always glad you're here.
Good afternoon.
Whatever time of day it is.
Good evening.
That's right. I'm just glad you're here. Mm-hmm.
I want to just
What you gonna do?
mention one little thing real quick. We've got a Marriage Matters getaway. If you've been listening, we've been saying it, and we're going to keep saying it. We want you to go with us September 28th
through the 30th.
29, 30.
Yep.
Starting on Thursday night, kind of late. So it's in Charleston, South Carolina. If you're local to where we are, it's about a 3-hour drive.
Yeah,
and,
not too bad.
But if
we're
you're
in the
coming from
upstate
somewhere
of
else,
South Carolina, right?
Yep. But
Google
we
map it.
we
You can
encourage
find
you
out
to
how
come
far away
go
it
with
is.
us. Home Matters.
Beautiful place.
HomeMatters.family. You get registered there. So
That's right.
Ready? Let's get into our topic of discussion.
Absolutely. Hey, I mean, this is a good one because I think how many of you could agree with me? You can raise your hand. I won't see it, but man, family, home life, kids, parenting, marriage, it all can be tough sometimes.
Be a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's huge. I mean, we say everything that at your home matters. So
yeah.
Yeah, everything about it. It can be huge. And it can be, I say personally, it can be overwhelming sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I know through the years of mother, when our kids were coming up, I mean, that was an overwhelming task. Young mama, if you're listening to me out there and you got kids screaming everywhere and you're like, why am I even trying to listen to a podcast right now? It can be an overwhelming task.
Mm-hmm.
Being the wife that I need to be to Eric. I mean, that can be overwhelming sometimes.
It's a huge responsibility.
It can be tough sometimes. Not that he's such a challenge. I mean, he can be a challenge now, but I'm sure I can be a challenge.
You just don't know what I have to do.
That's right.
I got to be your husband.
That's right. You have to be my husband.
It's work.
It's work.
We got to work at it.
You keep working at it.
Nah, it's not really work. I just got to be attentive, right?
That's right.
But the thing is, what we want to talk about today is you really have everything. You really have everything you need to be, or you can.
Yes, you have the potential. You have the capability. You even have, I'll say this, you have the resources available to you to be the absolute best at being the mother to your children, the father, the wife or husband, that parenting role, whatever it is. Hey, even into your intimate life. And I have everything I need.
I just know that as we talk about this today, I just know there are a lot of people that when you speak that way, you know the places that you're lacking. You know the places that confidence is not that strong.
That's true.
And again, it may be in your marriage, it may be in your parenting ability, your extended family, in-laws. You may lack the confidence that you may need. And what we want to talk about a little bit is how we see ourselves.
That's right. Because, I mean, we can say it this way. How I see me matters.
It goes a long way.
The true confidence that I have in my ability. And, this is a Bible-based podcast. So we just say out the gate, in me, just Gina, no. I can be overwhelmed. And when I'm just trying to operate out of, what I can do in myself, yes, I'm overwhelmed. But with the Lord.
With Jesus. God's help in my life.
With God's help in my life.
And again, that
I
thing.
do have everything I need.
For us to know, it's so important for you to know that I am able, for us to live that way, for us to have that kind of sense of confidence that, I am able, I can.
I'm graced for this.
Yeah.
I've just lived out of that.
Because again, that perception of self, and it can be delusional. We can have a perception that, we think we're greater than we really are, or better than we really are, I guess.
Yeah.
But I don't think a lot of people deal with that. There may be that kind of arrogance that floats along the waves every once in a while. But
I think when you see that a lot of times, it's a sure sign that there is a lot of lack in self-confidence. A lot of
insecurity,
there. Yeah, and it comes out that way.
So again, there's a place, and Gina said it already, there's a place that I can have some confidence. I can have some self-confidence. And along with that, have some real God confidence, knowing that, that God has given me ability, gifts that are good, and that with His help, He adds to that. And again, most of you that are listening I think that's kind of your belief anyway.
That's right.
If it's not, we'd love for it to be. But
I said it a minute ago that God graces us. And I just know in my own life, there, and you may be the same way, we look at grace as what saves us, and it does. But there is a grace that God puts on our life to grace us to carry out the things that He's put in our life that He intends for us to do.
Yeah.
Right. And I know there have been seasons in my own life where you just look and you think, what in the, how can I do this? Yeah. How am I going to do all this? But in that, God, if our heart is after Him and we're following His way, He graces us. He'll grace you for those tough seasons of marriage.
How can I be all of that?
Parenting.
How can I be a strong husband, strong leader?
That's right.
How can I be a provider? How can I be, a good husband, a good father?
His grace is enough. Yeah. And
that's something that we want to kind of use today as kind of our starting place. And we're going to kind of do like just a breakdown of some thought out of Scripture. And I think it's a good example. If you know the story of Moses, we're going to use that kind of in principle.
Exodus 3. Maybe you just want to take time, maybe after the podcast or in your own time to go back and read the story here of what happens with Moses, because he was given a task, right?
He was assigned this huge task. And again, we see him, I think, asking the same questions we ask. And again, Moses he's given this task of delivering an entire nation out of bondage, right?
Yeah, that's a little bit bigger than some of us have in the day-to-day.
But I'd say that most of our assignments are not that huge, but we do have these tasks that are before us, and we do have this relationship, and this marriage, and
that's right,
raising kids, and this job, and all these responsibilities,
all the things.
We just believe that if you can ever, and I believe that all is based out of this, it comes from a place that there's a sense of knowing, and you're confident in who you are as a follower of Jesus.
That's right.
Knowing that relationship, again, adds all that we need.
Absolutely.
Seek first the kingdom, and everything else is added.
Everything, yeah.
So again, when we look at these, again, we see Moses, and we see Moses really, as this task has been assigned to him, he's making some major objections.
We see just the raw Moses.
Yeah.
We think about Moses, the big man, the deliverer, the man of God. But man, in this passage, you see Moses, the real dude with a big task, right?
Yeah. And I think very much that it kind of matches up with how we live our lives. So here Moses he's in the wilderness. He's tending, help take care of sheep, animals. And he looks over and this bush is on fire, and the Bible says it's burning and it's not consumed, right? So God speaks to him out of the burning bush. He says, take your shoes off the place you're at. You stand on holy ground. So God starts to talk to him about the people of Israel. Right. They're in bondage down in Egypt. And he said, Moses, I've heard their cry.
Yep.
And you got to go and you got to bring them out.
You're the one, Moses. God tapped Moses.
There's that assignment.
Yep.
And your assignment may be that you're supposed to be a wife that's nurturing, that's building, that's adding to your family,
husband,
or husband that's got to make sure that he's a protector and a provider,
leader in his home.
I just don't know. Well, Moses didn't either.
That's right. Let me read you what he said. This is verse 11, chapter 3. But Moses protested to God. I mean, he had the nerve. Listen, protested. To appear before Pharaoh? Who am I to lead the people of Israel out of Egypt? And have you ever looked at your family and said, who am I to deal with these people in this house today? Who am I, Lord? Help me.
And what we want you to know and see is if you ever have issues with thinking that maybe I'm not suited for this. I'm not the one. You're not the first person. And that's again, what we want to address is the fact that sometimes we can just have all this self-doubt going on.
Just totally living in insecurity.
In our own mindsets and thought life, or much less all the things that the adversary, that our enemy would like to throw into
It's true.
Our suggestion box. All these suggestions that come our way.
Yeah.
All these thoughts that drop in us in our minds.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole thing with that personal insecurity, and again, we want you to see that you're not the first one.
You're not the first one. But man, God used Moses in spite of his personal insecurity, right? And he'll use you the same way.
Yeah.
Again, he will grace you for the task that is at hand.
Yep.
He will enable you. Secondly, Moses, after that first point, then secondly, he wasn't real confident about how these people he was supposed to lead would listen to him, whether or not they would pay attention to him or respond to him.
It comes back, Moses there, and he says, who am I going to tell him? Who should I say sent me? And God says, you tell him I am. Mm-hmm. Right? So he's thinking, all right, this thing I got to do. Now I got to go to these people and tell them that, God sent me here. Well, who is God,
Yeah.
And that whole thing is that again, where we get stuck in places where, the fear of people, that thought's carried over into the 4th chapter. And again, the 4th chapter starts off this way that Moses is saying, again, he's naming these reasons to God, just like we do.
Yep.
I'm not the
This is
guy.
why
I can't do that job, or I can't serve in that role, or I can't be that kind of husband, or I can't be that kind of father. Mm-hmm. And again, it's stuff that we see it over and over again.
Well, he's afraid they're not going to respond to him correctly, or that they'll reject him. And you say, well, that how does that fit in home? I think we deal with that in home all the time. With teenagers. Come on, can I just throw out an example here? Well, we know that, they don't need to be involved with this, or they don't need to go to this place, or they don't. But even as a parent, I know a lot of parents that are fearful to stand up and say, no, we're not doing that, because that's not a good place for you to be.
So good.
That's not something that you need to be involved in. But because of culture and because of things going on, because my friends are going, we don't want to be the fuddy-duddy parents.
Yeah, but our fear of being the naysayer, our fear of being unpopular.
Right.
Let me just help a lot of you parents out there. You don't have to be cool. They don't have to like everything that you do. They're not going to think
you're cool anyway.
They're not going to think you're cool. That's right. You can try so hard, but you're not. But again, Moses is at this place in chapter 4. He starts off. He says, "Well, chapter 3." He says, "Well, who do I? What about when I get there?
Yeah.
Why are they going to listen to me? Who do I? Who am I representing?" But secondly, he says, "Well, all right, God, if I got to do this, what if they don't listen to me?"
Right.
And that's that fear of rejection. What if they won't listen to me? What if they won't hear my words?
I think about this example as well. Moses didn't live a perfect life. He hadn't been the perfect example.
No.
And, I think we fear their rejection sometime in that same way, because they know us, right? Our kids know us, our spouse knows us. And then for us to try to stand up and lead and say, maybe thus says the Lord, or this is what we need to do, then we're afraid that that'll be thrown back. I mean, we just have to be authentic in that. Real people, we've messed it up. But
the fear of rejection, though, is it's very real in terms. Think about this romantically. What if I buy her flowers and she still, don't respond? Mm-hmm. Or what if I
just try it anyway? Let me give you a tip out there. Just try it anyway.
What if I show this kind of affection and it's rejected? Mm-hmm. And again, couples get stuck there. I've seen it.
True.
They get in a place where they get stuck, and when that happens, then they come to a place that they lack vulnerability, and when they begin to
it's a process, isn't it?
And the reason is because they don't want to be. They've been rejected enough. Mm-hmm. I've been turned away. I've been turned down. I'm at my place that I've done it all. So again, Moses is dealing with something that every one of us deal with. What if I'm rejected? What if they won't respond? What if I'm rejected?
Yeah.
And again, it's something that's very real.
I can hear couples now, you hear us talk about romance and the sexual part of your relationship. Mm-hmm. And, you're caught here where you're saying, well, yeah, that's all fine and good, but we've tried that and it didn't work.
Right.
Yeah. And so because of that, we don't step out again. Because we're afraid of that rejection.
Right.
But hey, this time could be the time that changes forever, right? Mm-hmm. It was the time that changed forever for multitudes of people right here.
Then the next piece, again, we see all these complaints or all these reasons why I can't do this.
Yep. Let's go on chapter 4.
Yeah, Moses comes to a place. He says, you got this task or assignment where I got to go speak to the king, to the Pharaoh of a nation.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then you got all these people I got to talk to. And he says, here's the thing, God. I'm not even, can I say it this way? I'm not even a good talker.
Good talker.
I'm not a good speaker. I'm not a good talker.
That's what he said. He said, I'm not a good speaker. And he went on to say, God, send somebody else. I mean, let somebody else do
that
this
last
task.
piece. But again, at first though, he said, I got to make sure that, that God, I don't know if I've got the abilities and the capabilities.
I don't know. Here's what it breaks down. I don't know if I got what it takes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And with that, again, is something that every one of us, we have to deal with, the insecurities about our own person, our own abilities, can I, again, I'm just going to make it real. I don't know if I can please her.
Right.
I don't know if I can satisfy her. And
I don't know if I got what it takes.
You can apply that to wherever you want. But again, we're just saying that there's a place that, what about with parenting? What if I'm just not patient enough?
Right, man, we feel that way, don't we? In raising
But what
kids.
we're saying is there's a place in your life that you can find that God. Listen, if God gave you those kids,
that's right.
Then you got to be confident in the fact that He will. You've got the ability, you've got the skills, you've got the talents.
That's right.
And He will help you.
He will help you. He will do His part. He will always do His part. The ball is in our court every time, in every situation. Well, I do my part. And I think with this one, even we can say, I'm not enough. I didn't have a good example. Mm-hmm. I hear that a lot. My parent, I don't even know. I heard somebody recently say, I don't even know how to be a husband. I don't know how to raise kids. I've never seen this done. I've never done this. Even in that.
Boy.
Even in that,
big.
I think we have to understand that, no, in me, I'm not. But the resources, we have the resources. If I will do my part, if I'll seek out the resources.
And again, I think about people that we know that they don't have an example.
That's true.
They've come from a situation or family situation or home or even orphanages. I know we've got people that are friends of ours that were raised in North. They may not have had that personal example of marriage or parenting.
That's right.
You just got to know that in that, again, there's plenty out there. There are plenty of people that maybe you find as an example, as a mentor. But the other thing is, again, that you got to know that where you lack, God will add to your life.
Absolutely. Isn't that Moses? I mean, Moses, he hadn't seen anybody lead a group of people out of anywhere like this before. I mean, he had no point of reference. And you may be listening today and say, there's some things that I should be doing as a wife, as a, whatever this role is. I have no point of reference for that. And it's easy to feel like I'm not enough. I'm unqualified for this job. Listen, if you don't feel unqualified, just give your kids a few minutes. They'll let you know how unqualified you are, right? But you do have what it takes.
Again, there's certain ages
Jesus,
especially.
That's right. Man, you got what it takes.
You'll never get agreement from everybody, right?
That's true.
And then this last piece in the fourth chapter. Again, you mentioned a moment ago, Moses said, you know what? I've given you all these reasons, God. I'm not qualified to do this.
That's right. Why are you still
asking? And there may be somebody out there today that you're saying, I'm just not, this marriage thing's just not for me.
It's not working for me.
This parenting thing, marriage thing, in-law thing. I'm just not cut out for this.
Right.
And here's what happens. Moses said, you know what, God, this is too big. Why don't you just send somebody else?
Yeah.
And boy, if you're in that place, it's a troubled place. Because what you're actually slipping into is it's a place in life that you just say, you know what? I'm going to take a pass on this one.
Yeah.
And you
just become non-existent even in your own family.
Yeah.
And that sounds crazy, but their husbands out there listening, their wives, we just become so passive because the task seems so much more than we're able to do that we just give up on it. I mean,
passivity
we just exist.
Begins to seep into our life in every area.
That's right.
So again, what we're trying to do is say this: hey, if you think it's too big, you think the task is too much, and We
That's
want you to
all right.
know, again, you may feel that. I said it this way. It's all right to feel like quitting, just don't quit.
Just don't.
So
Keep changing those diapers.
yeah, find a sense of confidence and say, you
That's
know what,
right.
if Moses had all these reasons to disqualify himself to not be able, then you know what, I got plenty of reasons to say that I'm
That's
not
so
able.
true.
But at the same time, if God handed you, if you've been given the task, then
That's
you can
right.
be confident
Absolutely. I
that
love
you will
it.
be able to accomplish it. Right?
That's right. You can
So
do
with
it.
family,
You can do this.
yeah.
Right?
Hey, why? Because
With God.
your home matters.
That's
Home
right.
matters. And we encourage
Man, we
you.
love you. We're for you. We're just encouraging you. Hey, don't give up on the
Don't
task.
give up.
That's right.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.